In a 2014 speech, former President Barack Obama said to his fellow Americans, "We are and will always be a nation of immigrants." The United States is in fact a nation of immigrants. The history of America starts with the Pilgrims themselves, who were immigrants, who fled Great Britain to avoid religious persecution and to find economic opportunities.
In the 1700s, European migration to North America continued to increase. There were waves of Scots-Irish, German, and English immigrants seeking religious freedom and economic opportunities. To meet the demands of this explosion of immigration, Ellis Island was established in 1892. Over the next 62 years, more than 12 million immigrants would arrive in the United States via Ellis Island. It became an icon representing the American dream. Soon, another port for immigration was established in California. Located in San Francisco Bay, the Angel Island Immigration Station served as an immigration port between 1910 and 1940, the point of entry for most of the approximately 175,000 Chinese immigrants who came to the United States. But with this diverse influx of immigrants came rising resentment in America.
While our very nation began with immigrants, there has been prejudice towards certain minority groups. At first, Irish Catholic immigrants were not accepted into the United States. They struggled to find professions and were denied entry into the top U.S. colleges. Boston College itself was built to support Irish Catholic immigrants who were being denied entry from other universities. Amongst anti-Irish immigration sentiment, there was also prejudice against Italian immigrants due to their Catholic beliefs. However, when Chinese immigrants began to work in the United States in the late 1850s as a result of the gold rush and the beginning of building railroads, Irish and Italian immigrants still faced discrimination but became more accepted into U.S. society. Chinese immigrants had to work 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demeaning jobs, in order to make ends meet. Due to racism and the stereotype that Chinese immigrants steal jobs from hard-working Americans, the Chinese Exclusion Act, which excluded Chinese immigration from 1882 to 1942, was put into action. Despite America being a nation of immigrants, our nation itself created a law which barred people from coming into the country. Many other acts in the United States made it increasingly difficult for Asian immigrants to naturalize, such as the 1917 Immigration Act, which targeted Indians and Punjabis, and additionally created the Asiatic Barred Zone, which prohibited countries in Asia from immigrating, and the 1924 Immigration Act, which targeted Japanese immigration. The Immigration Act of 1952 eventually eliminated racial requirements for citizenship and symbolically ended Asian exclusion. Jumping forward in time, from the early 2000s to today, there has been anti-Hispanic and anti-Islamic sentiment. Hispanics are seen to be illegal immigrants who don't pay taxes, and Islamic people are deemed to be terrorists after the 9/11 attacks.
What is your name?
Rachel Wallard.
What's your affiliation with BC?
I'm an assistant director at the Pine Manor Institute for Student Success.
Okay. How do you think U.S. citizens feel about immigrants?
I think there's no way to generalize how all Americans, or U.S. citizens, I should say, feel. I think I personally, in the state of Massachusetts, specifically in Boston, live in a very progressive city. Recently, our Mayor Wu has gone and demonstrated her support of immigrants to Congress. Moreover, even the last weekend, we had several of our congressmen speak out about our progressive politics here in Massachusetts for the hands-off protest. Yes, was that 2 days ago? So I think that's very impressive. However, I can only speak for this area. I mean, I think there's a lot of, news and propaganda against immigrants, which is sad to see. And I think that is integrated in parts of our U.S. citizenship folks, or however we want to put that.
Thank you. How do you feel about the current political climate in regards to immigration and immigrants as a whole?
The political climate is very tumultuous right now. I am an alumnus of Tufts University, and so Rameza was abducted a couple weeks ago, and so that was very jarring. And across the United States, folks in the university systems are having their visas revoked. And so obviously working at a university, I'm kind of more tapped into that, but there are immigrants being moved to El Salvador and to their prison system there, and we're paying for that, which is dangerous and cruel. And there's even news of people who were accidentally sent there who don't have a gang affiliation. We're having folks be sent home for I don't think any reason, or home quote unquote, as in just pushing them out of the US. There's no home for some of them. I mean, a woman who I believe she worked at Brown was a surgeon, and she was sent to Lebanon. She was not allowed back into the US. And so I think that's terrible. I think it's a very scary time for immigrants, no matter their status. And that's the political climate that I'm aware of.
Have you ever been affected by the immigration climate here at BC, whether it be students or other co-workers?
I personally haven't had direct contact with students talking to me about that. I know some of our students have undocumented parents, and those parents aren't coming to graduation, which I think is very hard and difficult for students, but that has not been brought up to me personally.
Immigration in America today. The U.S. foreign-born population has now reached over 47.8 million, which make up over 14% of the U.S. population. Yet, immigration can still be seen in many forms today. The most recent and most prevalent issue comes from the Trump administration initiating actions to revoke visas and pursue deportation of international students involved in pro-Palestinian activities on U.S. college campuses. This follows the January 30th, 2025 executive order aimed at combating anti-Semitism, which has led to the revocation of approximately 300 visas, many held by students alleged to have participated in such activities. Mahmoud Khalil, a 30-year-old graduate student at Columbia University and legal permanent U.S. resident of Palestinian descent, was arrested on March 8, 2025 by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. Despite holding a green card and being married to an American citizen, the administration accused him of supporting Hamas and distributing related propaganda, though no evidence has been provided. Khalil's involvement in campus protests included serving as a negotiator during demonstrations advocating for the university's divestment from entities linked to Israeli actions in Gaza and the West Bank. He is currently detained in Louisiana, challenging the government's deportation efforts. Rumezia Öztürk. Rumezia Öztürk, a Turkish graduate student at Tufts University, was detained by ICE agents on March 25, 2025. Her student visa was revoked based on allegations of supporting Hamas through pro-Palestinian efforts, specifically citing her co-authorship of an op-ed urging the university to acknowledge Palestinian issues and divest from certain companies. Öztürk is currently held in a Louisiana detention center, with legal proceedings underway to contest her detention and visa revocation. These actions have raised significant legal and ethical concerns, with critics arguing that they infringe upon constitutional rights to free speech and academic freedom.
This is Boston College women's basketball player Nene Awa Ndiaye. She migrated from Senegal in high school. When asked about her experience as an immigrant in the United States, she told me that under the Biden administration, she felt comfortable and safe. But once Trump went into office, she felt nervous and like her visa could be taken away at any point. She feels that her safety and security in the United States is threatened under the new administration. I asked her how difficult the immigration process truly was. She told me that if you have a good opportunity to be in the US, it's actually pretty simple. Because of basketball, Nene's immigration process was very easy. For those who haven't been as fortunate, she said, it is much more difficult. Despite abundant opportunities in America and the promise of a better quality of life, she only has one relative that migrated here. She wrapped up the interview by expressing how grateful she was to have new opportunities and a new life in America. And she personally has been treated very well. This is Jocelyn Martinez. She is an American-born citizen of Mexican descent. I asked her how immigration has affected her family in her home state of California. She told me about her uncle Jorge, who has been facing some difficult times since Trump got in office. Throughout his tenure in the US, he said that he's been deported many, many times. Jocelyn told me he was taken from churches, his job, and at home. But under previous administration, he would always find his way back. He was always allowed to come back. New administration has set up stricter laws and regulations around immigration. Jocelyn told me that her uncle was deported for a final time in February and was not able to come back. Jocelyn's family in my entire hometown of Fresno, California, is devastated and scared. They block the streets and protest the deportation of immigrants, arguing that America is their home too. Jocelyn told me that she and the millions of Mexican immigrants living in California feel disposable to this country. People don't understand how it feels to live with the fear of your family being ripped apart at any given time.